Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today, the 17th of September 2014 and the 2nd of Nasir, 17:30 AM. I'm David Nada.
And I'm Stephanie William. In today's headlines, His Holiness Pope Tawadros to make his first visit to North America. Prince Charles expresses his pain for suffering Iraqi Christians in letter to Patriarch Sako. Groups of Lebanese Christians arms themselves against the Islamic State. Coptic Christians kidnapped in Libya. Hundreds gather for Miami funeral of Steven Sotloff, beheaded by the Islamic State militants. World Health Organization recommends using Ebola survivors' blood to treat the disease.
His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, Pope of Alexandria and Patriarch of the See of St. Mark, has arrived in Toronto, Canada, as part of His Holiness's first visit to North America. His Holiness was greeted and received at the airport by the Honourable Jason Kenney, Minister of Employment and Social Development, and Minister for Multiculturalism, the Honourable Robert Deckert, Member of the House of Commons, as representative of the electoral district of Mississauga-Arundel, and Dr. Andrew P.W. Bennett, Ambassador to the Office of Religious Freedom. Pope Tawadros will be attending the 50th anniversary celebration of the establishment of the first Coptic Orthodox Church in North America, St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church in Toronto. The celebration will include the consecration of the newly built St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Cathedral, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which will be the greatest Coptic Orthodox cathedral outside Egypt, and the second largest cathedral in Canada. Several dignitaries are expected to attend the event, including the Right Honourable Prime Minister Stephen Harper, Mayor Frank Scarpitti of the City of Markham, other dignitaries from federal, provincial and municipal governments, and the leaders from neighbouring communities. St. Mark Coptic Orthodox Church was established in 1964 by the late Pope Carolus VI, under the auspice of His Holiness Pope Carolus VI. The Very Reverend Father Moros A. Moros was ordained as the first priest for the Copts in all North America. At the time, Father Moros was resident in Toronto, but served the Copts across the continent alone for nearly 3 years during the late 1960s. By the grace of God, the first seeds sown by Father Moros 50 years ago have now flourished into 37 Coptic Orthodox parishes in Canada and more than 200 in the USA. Father Moros continues to serve his congregation today and has expressed his joy in welcoming His Holiness Pope Tawadros II as the Church celebrates its very important milestone. We pray for the safety of His Holiness during his travels and upon his return.
Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, sent a personal letter to Archbishop Louis Sako, the Patriarch of Babylon of the Chaldeans, to offer his sympathy to the plight of Iraqi Christians at the hands of jihadists. The Prince said, "You can have no idea how heartbroken I am to hear of the truly unbearable and barbaric persecution being suffered, not only by the Christians in Iraq, but also by some of their neighbours of other faiths alongside whom you have lived for hundreds of years." He continued, "Although the words seem hopelessly inadequate at such a time of unimaginable suffering, I did just want to offer, through you, my special prayers and profound sympathy to all the members of the Chaldean Catholic Church in Iraq." He expressed his fervent hope and prayer that the leadership and actions of people and goodwill will help to overcome the diabolic evil that has wrought such terrible suffering and allow peace to return to the cradle of civilization. In a written message to Iraqi Christians published Thursday by the Daily Telegraph, the Prince condemned the attack committed by ISIL. He described ISIL as a diabolic evil and talked about his hope and prayer for those suffering in the Middle East.
Some Christians in Lebanon are arming themselves against Muslim extremists in Syria. AP reported on Friday that in Kar, a small Christian village, citizens carry rifles into the hills on the border with Syria. One of the men told AP, "We all know that if they came, they will slit our throats for no reason."
Last month, Islamic extremists attacked a Lebanese border town. The militants killed and kidnapped Lebanese soldiers and policemen. Christians have not armed themselves since the end of the Lebanese civil war in 1990, the Associated Press said. But now, with the attack on Christian communities across Iraq and Syria, they felt obliged to protect themselves, refugees from the Islamic State, threatened areas, and also sheltering in Lebanon. According to AP, black market weapons sales have spiked in Lebanon. This week, a video has released of boys burning an IS flag in a Christian neighbourhood in Beirut. Vandals responded by spray painting "The Islamic State is coming" on several northern Lebanese churches. Lebanese activist Suleiman Seman said that Christians are just trying to perfect themselves. He said, "We don't want to attack anyone and we don't want anyone to attack us."
There are reports that 4 Egyptian Christians were kidnapped this week in Libya near the city of Sirte. According to the Libya Herald, the 4 were kidnapped by unknown armed persons and when they were on their way from Tripoli to the Egyptian border to leave the country. According to Libya, they were in a vehicle with 3 other Egyptians who are Muslims and had just passed through Sirte when they were stopped at a checkpoint. Armed men asked to see the passengers' papers and passports. Then they began asking each passenger about his religious beliefs. According to one of the other passengers, when the armed men realized that the 4 of the Egyptians were Christians, they ordered them to disembark and ordered the driver to depart with the other 3. One of the passengers and the driver tried to ask what was going to happen to the victims. The abductors became angry and began to threaten them, telling them to leave immediately. When the remaining passengers reached Egypt, one of them informed the family of the victims. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been notified and has promised to take action. Libya is the scene of fierce fighting between different militia. The weak national government is unable to control violence in the country. Several foreign Christians have been killed this year. Many foreign workers have left the country because of the security situation.
Nearly 1,000 mourners gathered for a memorial service on Friday for Steven Sotloff, the journalist slain by Muslim militants in Syria. A letter smuggled out of captivity before his death was read aloud to the surprise of funeral attendees. "Please know I'm okay," said Sotloff in the letter, which was written in May and slipped out by a former cellmate. "Live your life to the fullest and fight to be happy. Everyone has 2 lives. The second one begins when you realize you have only one." Sotloff, 31, freelanced for Time and Foreign Policy magazines covering the Middle East when he was kidnapped just inside Syria in August 2013. Except for a single phone call to his parents in December, he never directly was heard from again. On Tuesday, the fundamentalist Muslim militia Islamic State posted a video on the internet showing his decapitation. The Islamic State has beheaded 2 American journalists it held captive for what the militants call payback for more than 120 US airstrikes on its assets in northern Iraq since August 8. Journalists James Foley and Steven Sotloff were 2 of what the State Department has now described as a few Americans still being held hostage by the group. The Islamic State also threatened to kill a British man it is holding hostage.
BBC reports that the blood of patients who recover from Ebola should be used to treat others, the World Health Organization has announced. West Africa is facing the largest Ebola outbreak in history, and more than 2,000 people have died. A global group of experts have been meeting to assess the experimental therapies that could contain Ebola. The WHO also announced that Ebola vaccines could be used on the front line by November. Dr. Marie-Paul Keeney, an Assistant Director General at WHO, said, "We agreed the whole blood therapies may be used to treat Ebola virus, and all efforts must be invested to help infected countries to use them. There is a real opportunity that a blood-derived product can be used and this can be very effective in terms of treating patients." She said that it was the one positive aspect of so many people being infected. There are also many people now who have survived and are doing well. They can provide blood to treat other people who are sick. There is no clinically proven drug or vaccine to treat Ebola, but many are in the experimental stage.
That's all for CYC News for tonight. Stay tuned on CYC for more Christian content. I'm Stephanie William.
And I'm David Nada. And from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia, have a blessed Nowruz feast. Good night and God bless.